Hi all, welcome to Coding Tricks. This is the second part of Angular series. In this video, we'll see a simple component page, how to create a component and how to invoke or run a component in the Angular application. So we'll see that part. And in the video series, I will show some of the open source components, open source controls available for Angular like PrimeNG. So we will do a simple step-by-step one sample application. In this sample application, we'll see PrimeNG controls, how we can invoke PrimeNG controls and how to pass different types of Angular code inside that PrimeNG. We'll see all these things in the coming sessions. Okay, so I have already opened my command prompt and I have navigated to the path where I have created the Angular, and also I have opened my Visual Studio Code, and in the first part I have already created my application solution and using ng command, and now I want to create a simple component here. Inside this component I will create I will put some HTML code, and that HTML code and CSS code I will place it, and after that I will call that component inside my module, so that once that is done we will make a service call. So in the next part we'll see how to make a service call, how to establish a provider, and how to register a particular service, and using that service how to make API calls, that is nothing but REST calls, and consume the JSON data and display it in our page. Okay, so we'll also see some of the standard values available in the Angular, like some standard predefined tags are available like ng for ngf and all those things. So we'll see one by one in this demo. Okay, so I'm creating a simple app. I have already created an app, so I will create a simple component. To create a component, right click on the app and click on new file, and I'll name it as sample component.ts. This is the sample component. I have created it here. Okay, and this simple component, once it is created, I need to write a code related to the component code. Once the code is written, I need to register this sample component inside my app.module. So app.module is very much required to register all the components. So when you declare any component in the app, in the Angular app, so all those things we need to declare inside this declarations. So okay, so let me create a sample. I have a simple sample component, and I will start writing component, and it resides inside Angular core. I have named it as wrong component it is. I have declared the component. Okay, and if you see any component, three necessary properties are available. The first property is a selector. You need to specify what is the selector you want to use for this particular component. So I want to name this as sample. So with this name you can call in the HTML, so that we will see how this can be selector can be called. The next will be template. So I don't want to use any predefined template URL. That means if I have to have an HTML, so if you see in this particular already created sample, we have something called app component.html. So this app.component.html is the HTML where all the HTML resides. But in this particular example, I don't want to have a separate HTML file. Instead, I will write my HTML code inside this file itself. So I want to use a template tag. So I have used the template tag, and the selector I have placed it, the name of the template, and I will use this thing, and inside this I will write my HTML code. So after that I will declare style URL. So as of now I don't have any styles, but eventually I will use it. So style, I need to have a comma. Then if I type style URL, so using the style URL I can specify what is my CSS file name. So if you see it here, app component at CSS, inside the CSS file I can have my CSS component. Okay, so I have not, I don't want to use any CSS as of now, so I have not declared anything. I just kept empty. So after that I need to create export class, and I will name this component as sample component. Sample component. So I've just declared the sample component. That's all. So this particular thing I have decorated with component, so I don't need to do anything. I don't need to do extend or anything. Just have to declare this. That's all. And inside this I will declare a variable. Okay, so this I will define inside my constructor. So okay, so in TypeScript language, if you want to declare a particular variable, you need to define the name of the variable, and after that you need to give a colon, and you need to specify what is the type of it is. So it can have string. If it is a string, it is a string type. If it is a digit or a numeric, then you can have number type. There is something called number, so you can use the number. Okay, or if it is dynamic, that means if you don't know the type, or if you want to define the type at the runtime, you can have any. So if you declare any, so you no need to have any type defined. So these are the major things you can have it in TypeScript. And to declare the constructor, you need to use a constructor. So in normal C# or any other object oriented language, you can have class name as the constructor, but here in TypeScript you have a method, a separate keyword is there, that is constructor. You need to use this constructor and define the method, and inside that you need to access the particular variable using this, and I have passed the value. That's all I have done it here. This is a simple sample. Okay, inside this I will have a div tag. Inside the div tag I will have I will just define test. Okay, so in Angular applications, if you want to access anything from the component variables, if you want to access it, you need to use these two symbols. So this will actually resolve the value, and it will display whatever value I defined it here inside this particular div. That's all. I have declared this, and now this sample component I need to register inside my app module. So I will go here in the app module. my sample component has come, and this sample component I will declare it here. Okay, so this is done, but when I run this particular application, I don't see any output because I have declared, I have written code inside my component, I have registered this particular component in the app module, but I have not called anywhere this particular component. To call this component, I will go to the app component, because since I have declared, if you see in the app module, I have declared bootstrap as app component. Bootstrapped in the sense this particular component will be called first when this application starts. So when the application is started, the first component is called is app component. So uh, this is the, so in a normal if you are doing any big applications, you can have a master component. Inside this master component you can have child components. That means you can style a master component, inside that you can render all the child components. So if you go to this app component, so let me go to that app component and I'll go to HTML, and for simplicity sake I will take it off entire thing. So this is all created by default when I created the Angular application, so I don't want to have this much complexity. I'll just take it off. So once I'm doing the application one by one, I will declare all these things. So we will see what is this route outlet. So when you have a routing, you need to have this route outlet in the master page, so that inside this route outlet the entire single page code will be rendered. So if you want to use a router, if you want to use a routing module, you need to have this router outlet. Okay, for now I will have to call this sample component. To call the sample component, I need to use this selector, whatever I have declared it here. That's all. The sample selector I have called like a normal HTML tag. So div, uh, HTML div or p or whatever, these tags are predefined tags in HTML. So the similar way, the sample selector also will work as a uh, selector, but this selector will be resolved by the Angular framework. So when I run this particular application, Angular will resolve this sample selector and it will render the HTML what I have mentioned it here. So I have mentioned here div, this particular HTML I have mentioned it here. This particular HTML will be rendered inside my sample component, and the sample component is called inside my app component. So app component will render this particular HTML. So let us run this application and we'll see how it works. So to start that ng serve, so it will compile the code and it will see are there any errors. If there are no errors, it will successfully compile the code, and that compiled code I can see in the browser. So now it is started compiling it. Angular normally uses a head time compiler, that means AOT. So this will actually boost the performance. So it is compiled. I don't have any compilation issues. So I have copied the URL. I'm pasting it here. You can see welcome to my first component, which I have declared inside my sample component. And another advantage of Angular application development is if I change a value, that's all. You no need to do anything. Automatically the code will be compiled. You can see it. The code is already compiled, and the compiled code will be rendered automatically. So you no need to refresh your browser every time when you do the change. That is the advantage of having the CLI. So CLI automatically, once you start the ng serve, it will keep watching your files. If any of the files are changed, it will compile those changes, and if the changes are successful, then it will render that particular code inside the browser. So using Angular you can do seamlessly coding. So normally developers will have time consuming effort, refresh the screen and see the output, so that you can avoid it by using Angular CLI. Okay, so that's all for this video. In the next video I will show you the routing and how to use PrimeNG components and so on. Thank you, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you.